The company case, as I said, our goal is developing trust, is proving that we are not somebody out of touch academia, like somebody who use the same cases of Harvard Business Review of 10 years old again and again, and just using the same frameworks again and again. No, we are real thing. We working with the companies right now, with the real clients, and we understand what's going on. There are two types of trust we develop. It's a personal trust, and our goal to connecting with the company and its people, and professional trust to establish in a wider spectrum of industry and local market, especially when we live, for instance, in California or Boston, as I live, and I write case about the market which is separate than mine. How do I prove that I understand the logic, the local specifics, kind of like local nuances? And this is what we are doing here. The whole idea of developing trust. Overview. Okay, rubrics. And so rubrics. There are three rubrics of understanding is a good case or bad case. And at the end, I will have this slide again of overview. And the first rubric will be the focus of the case. It must be very sharpened. Unlike, for instance, descriptive cases, we want to show that this is very specific challenge and very sharpened focus of the case, and we are good in this. And this is very because we want exactly to do the same in teaching cases. How we do this? We start with the challenge, and the challenge must be 5 W's, and it's already help us to narrow and focus this case. Unlike writing the case about big issue, big discussions, no. We want to focus one specific challenge that we are working on. And in my own way, I divided all the challenges in 3 types. The challenge problem, the challenge dilemma, or the challenge project. When the challenge problem is like when the case client knows that she has a problem, for instance, low revenue or high competition, or for some reason quality of service the company provides, it's dropping like on her watch. And she just doesn't know what to do. This is a case problem. We have a problem, but it's totally open for any solutions. Challenge dilemma, it's where the client already did some homework and they have 2 options under considerations. It's very popular for international business of market entry projects, like where my company would move next, to Indonesia or Malaysia. This is a challenge dilemma. Or should I hire this candidate or that candidate? Or actually any area of expertise. It would be dilemma of 2-3 options under considerations. This is a challenge dilemma. And challenge project is the easiest one. It's what it's like marketing plan, management plan. It's like how to get from point A to point B. It's the most straightforward, most linear, and of course the easiest one to do. And very, very, very important for us to know what challenge we are working on. I usually don't define this in the challenge in the first paragraph. This is a challenge dilemma, but I send the signal of what kind of challenge is this. So the client understands what I am going to work on and agree or disagree with this focus. Also, and you can see the picture right here that we have the challenge at the beginning, and then, of course, background of the company, then the situation, and the decision what has to be made. The situation is a second component where we work on the focus of the case. And here we put the chain of events before, what happened before to the challenge, and what has been done, and clients' expectations and boundaries. And of course, we finish this with a closing hook of what information we have in hand, and what's the question we want to answer for the client. The first rubric of the case, focus of the case, it's at the beginning and at the end. You see, it's frames the company case from the beginning to the end. And it's all about developing personal trust with the client. Again, the structure of the case, the challenge, the company background, industry background, market background, situation, and decision to make. And this slide just show us the second rubric of the quality of data. And I included here the data we actually need. Of course, the case by case are very different, and the strategy case would be more about industry and market. Obviously, if it will be more inside organization data, we will need less market specific. But in this or that case, we still somehow put all this information here. And I show what the information we need. As you see, the circles here, light green is when we develop personal trust, and it's more kind of like we're really trying to understand the client. And this data comes from the client for the challenge, for the background of the company, for the situation, and for decision to make. It comes from the client. However, the industry and market data, this is where we work independently from the client. And I always advise people who I work with, do not even get information about the industry and market from the client, but instead own homework. Because at the end of the case, at the end of the day, we want to prove that it's us who have this, who are professional, smart. We know the industry, and we kind of impress our clients with this data. And all this, how we can get data, and it's all here. I move forward because, again, writing the case is very similar for cases, teaching cases and consulting cases. And we write the case. When we're writing the case, we also change our kind of voice. We start with the company, with a challenge, and it's opening hook. It's designed to capture the reader attention and place it in the middle of the company story. And we see, so as my advice, 1-2 paragraphs. Again, if you wrote the cases, you know this. Then we change our head and we become more data boring people. And we include as much data as possible, much more visual as possible. And it's written in very concise technical style to provide the context of the challenge. And the background is the largest part of the case, around 80%. And it's usually includes the company, industry, and local market in any order and in any proportion, what you believe is relevant for your case. Then, of course, we again change the head back to our storytellers, and we write about situation and decision to make. Again, we are more of with the client, and we want to show how complicated the story is, but also how much client already did. The client I found, actually yesterday I worked with a client, and the client wanted to be very, very clear that she already did a lot. And she doesn't want me to present that like, oh, she's just a drama person, doesn't know what to do. No, she wanted me to show how much is already done. I can start from there. And of course, at the end, always we have reference exhibits as much as possible. And here again, professional trust. You see, personal trust, professional, personal, professional. Everything what is personal is more storytelling, and everything what is professional, it's more kind of dry language. And yes, we write everything in past tense to make sure that the case positioned at the time when the challenge happens, because by the time of publication, the situation can be changed, and then the case might look irrelevant, and we don't want this. And best example why, for instance, even the market data, we write the location data, we write in past tense. I give example of the country where my mom lives, Ukraine, and it's very different story, like Crimea. Is it Ukrainian territory, Russian territory, nobody's territory? We don't know, but when we write the case, we write whatever we have at the moment. And this is the overview. Now it's at the end, you see the structure here, the challenge, background, company, industry, local specific, the situation and decision to make. And now you see that rubrics are very much related to the structure. The rubric number 1, which I presented, is a case focus, and where the judges will look, the opening, the challenge, the situation, the decision to make. It must be very clear where the client stands and what the client think about and what the boundaries. Quality of data, of course, we look at the background, and presentations, we look at the quality of writing, the quality of exhibits. But I also, because of it's not teaching cases, which are written for the classroom, written for one industry, which is the industry of education. These cases might have a different style of presentation based on the style of industry. And I give these hints to people who I work with, and the cases written for Arctic industry would look very different than cases written for data analytics or database, whatever, IT industries. They look differently, and they should be, because we write them to show that we understand the developing trust with the industry. We understand what the industry is and what the rules of the game. And right now, this is a summary of everything what I present about the case. And look at this, the structure, the challenge, the company, industry, market situation, decision to make. This structure I do recommend to follow very much. Company, industry, and market, these three components can be in a different order, in any order, like following the flow. But the challenge must be at the beginning, the decision to make must be at the end, and the situation might be usually before decision to make. Sometimes it goes after the company. First and the last must be pinned, and everything within between still must be in present, but in any order. The content is right here. Rubrics, what we will pay attention to for evaluating the cases are here, and the presentation style is here. And maybe we can take a couple of minutes for you to say what's thinking about your case, what you already see that you might work on for your own case. I pause right now, and we are not recording right now, so please, whoever wants to say, please take your microphone, and we are not recording, so you feel free to say whatever you want to say. Does anybody wants to share?
Just Julia, on the journal, are there a couple of recommended archetype consulting cases that, you're like, these are really good. These are good models to sort of follow in terms of format.
Mm-hmm. For the journal, I mean, we are first. I do have my cases, of course, I have my cases, but again, this particular journal is a pioneer, which is my huge appreciation to Steve McGuire when we discussed that, for instance, if we want more cases to be written, and our master students or doctoral students want to do this, but they're not interested in being professors. Why would they write teaching cases? And this is what was my constant complaint, that if it's not teaching cases, then why we will do this? You see how many cases we developed with my students? We published maybe 10 in different sources, and only because they loved me and followed me. Answering to your question, I do have my examples, and in the book you can find these examples. But for the journal, we are the first who established this record. Any other case? Any other questions?
Yep. Is there a theme or a topic or a niche that you're looking for?
Very good question. For this year competition, no. Whatever you want to write, like it's you who establish your space in the market. If you're a medical field, write about medical field. If you want to establish yourself as a problem solver in quality of products, etc., this is what your voice. In future, we might have themes for competition, but not for this year.
Sorry, can I ask another one, please? What's the timeline like in terms of the publication flow, right?
Yeah. So after this presentation, you are on your own till January 10. It will be my last slide. January 10, you submit your case and consulting report. You already all submitted your case proposal. It was before September 20. We are done with this. Now you are working on the case and consulting report by January 10, and you submit this by January 10. In January January, you will receive from me invitation to be a peer reviewer, and I'll also ask you, maybe you recommend somebody, practitioners, which would be much more useful, honestly, and I will use my connections, I'll ask your connections, and actually practitioners love to be judges in consulting case competition. This is January. By somewhere mid of February, we will know our finalists, and we invite them to the conference, Western Case Writers Association conference in Canada in March, and in March we will announce the winners.
What's the dates in March again? Sorry.
Please go to Western Case Writers Association website, and all the dates are there.
Okay.
So then no more questions about the case.
I got one.
Yes.
So essentially the cases between the teaching cases and the consulting cases, essentially the case is the same, right? What's different is the teaching note. Essentially, the consulting report.
Yes and no. Mostly yes. Cases are very, very similar. Absolutely. More about like what information you include. We have a little bit more freedom with teaching cases because we are doing this for students. Here we are doing this for industry, and we know that our goal is for the client to trust us. We are more, we must be objective, but maybe complementary to the company. We kind of like, again, we are practitioners working for developing trust. Very similar, but we want to learn the language of the company. We want to learn the language of the industry. We want to speak like industry people. This is what I'm trying to say. We want to speak their story as their biographers. We are biographers of the company, of the market, and otherwise the structure is exactly the same. Very similar.
Yeah, I'm developing a couple of different entrepreneurship cases, and I have my students working on this. It's 3 different companies or 3 different cases that we are developing, and it's really these are smaller players, or smaller entrepreneurial companies. Do you have a point towards the industry research if you don't have 10K annual reports and all that available?
No, absolutely, yes. Very welcomed. Because as we know, entrepreneurs usually don't do like 10K research, etc. Your real client is real. They live in their world, and we describe that we work for them. So you still need industry data. They want to know who is the competitors, what are market growing, not growing. We want to know all the data, what they need. But absolutely not. You don't have to do for 10K for this data. Absolutely not.
No,
my students, I love entrepreneurial cases because this is what students love writing because they want to develop their own companies. And actually they write entrepreneurship cases, consulting cases to be known around investors and to get seed money for their own idea, how they place themselves here. Yeah, absolutely fine.
I was in particular asking, in your experience with writing these 240 cases, is there certain, how do you, for these smaller entrepreneurial companies where industry data is not readily available? I know the obvious choices would be you try to find industry organizations that publish about the state of the industry and all that kind of stuff. But outside of that, is there any repository of data that you can suggest that you came across that this is always a good starting point or something?
I mean, it's exactly because right now I work for my MBA class and I write 6 cases right now in my MBA class. And I say, like, you want to establish yourself in the industry, do your homework. And yes, I think what professional journals you can find. For instance, in a healthcare, these are professional journals. In a supply chain, they were very good. I must say that they know how to find their data, but it's publicly available data. And you also use library of your own university. So I don't see any problem with this. Can we go through my second part because we have 15 minutes left and it's the second part which is different and I can stay with you as much as you want after this. Also,